Welcome to Audio Products Podcast. We are meeting with pro audio industry veterans, founders, product managers, UX designers, to learn how they build and manage the products we all love. You will get tips how to navigate your career in audio and how to develop a successful audio product. From musical instruments through audio plugins and gaming middleware up to music distribution platforms or consumer electronics like headphones, mics, and even automotive speaker systems. Enjoy. Hey Maciek. Good afternoon.
Hey Wojtek. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. We've been chatting about doing this for a little while, so I'm really glad you were able to join. Thank you, Maciek.
Thank you for the introduction.
So, to the listeners, I would like to Maciek will explain better than I, but Maciek is a co-founder of MusicTech Lab, a company, the MusicTech company, and I will just let you, Maciek, introduce the company by yourself. But I met Maciek through an initiative that he actually is one of the leaders of, which is dear to my heart, which is MusicTech Poland. So the association, or generally like a community. I know you're trying to turn it into association, right?
Mm-hmm,
MusicTech Poland, and it's part of the larger network of these organizations there is MusicTech Germany, and so we met a while ago when Maciek had this first idea of building this, and we've been chatting for a while. So I'm super happy that finally we're making it, although not in person. We are both in Poland, but this time actually online. Maciek, maybe if you could just tell a little bit about yourself to the your story, so about the company and what you do with Mariusz and the team.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. My name is Maciej Dulski. I'm based in Warsaw, Poland. I run a company called MusicTech Lab. We build products, integrations for companies in the music industry. Happy to share more what kind of things we're focused on. But also I'm a co-founder of MusicTech Poland, which you mentioned already, which is a not-for-profit community for local people here in Poland who are into innovation in music industry, automation, being more effective, and basically are a little bit of nerds themselves, like we are, and how we like to introduce ourselves. Other than that, I'm also passionate about startups, and we are even building our own startups, which is very early still, but happy to mention it later also.
Yep. As you know, I'm very interested about the a life and for balance of founders. So I will definitely like to touch on this question. But you are already a founder with one exit. So the live call, I believe it was 2021, right? That you exited. So I'm curious what brought, because it wasn't a music tech startup, right? So I just wonder what sort of made you, to change the sort of industry. And there was I know that music tech companies can also be, SaaS. You apply the SaaS model, but what brought you to a music tech lab and making this, being one of the really a community leaders as well in the music tech world?
Yeah, so it wasn't a sudden move, I would say. So after building and running live call for 6 years, I sold the company to a strategic investor and stay involved for some time after the acquisition. It was something completely different. At the same time, I started looking for new challenges, and a few things to build, actually, because I'm entrepreneur and startup founder probably in heart. But the idea of MusicTech Lab came later. After a few years, and after meeting my current co-founder, Mariusz, we quickly realized we had some complementary skills, and we both share passion for passion industries and music industry and music. And together we can bring a real value and combine some experience in technology with music experience we already have or we thought we have. It was very early.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know what you mean exactly. That's the same for me. I like work in technology and I love music and like some gears. At a certain point, I say, hey, that's actually it's actually also like a very rewarding to work with people who really like deeply passionate, right, about what they do, what they build.
It could be a trap, but at least a trap that you feel comfortable in.
Yeah, you know the saying, right? I mean, find what you love and let it kill you. I think that's the saying. Maciek, so in MusicTech Lab, you mentioned like building things for the future of music. So what does it mean in practice? What kind of projects do you take, and what kind of projects do you say no to? Mm-hmm. So what are some examples of stuff that you are involved in as a?
Sure. So I wasn't realizing that even myself a few years ago, but music tech is much broader than people think, that I used to think. It's not just streaming, as a common sense would say, or music creation tools. It includes everything from metadata and rights management to distribution, royalties, fun experiences. And at MusicTech Lab, we mainly build software in two areas, AI and music data. It's still very broad, but we help companies mostly automate workflows that they have, build AI-powered products, improve metadata quality or everything related to data they have, connect fragmented data across the music ecosystem, and this kind of things. And for projects that we usually turn down, the projects that we turn down are usually purely audio engineering stuff like plugins or DSPs. Mm-hmm. That's not our main expertise. There are many other companies that do that, but we focus on building products for the music industry or the music, so the broader industry rather than music creation stuff. Mm-hmm. And our sweet spot is where music, software, and AI industry knowledge can come together and we can solve some real problems.
It's actually a very interesting point, Maciek, because I also, through this podcast, realized how big and fragmented the industry is, and especially that people sit in the specific small segments, right? So they, and they're just like a plugin people or like a music production tools people, and they think the music industry is them.
Yes.
Or like industry musical instruments as well. There is the, like you say, the entire music distribution and all ecosystem around it. So data management. There is also all the sound reinforcement, so the these line arrays and speaker systems and
that's right.
And concert management. Yeah. So, and I just really, and even if we talk even broader, you have game audio and you have consumer audio. So your own home entertainment systems, etc. And it's all around music and culture, right? So
that's very often when my relatives or someone I knew I met ask me what I do, I say I work in the music industry. I build software for the music industry. They get excited. Wow, it's really interesting. And then I explain we're building a software product for data-related issues, and they suddenly say, "Okay, it wasn't as excited as I thought." And there are these spots in the music industry when sometimes you don't realize. They're very niche, but important.
Yeah. Again, I know exactly how I can relate to it. As you know, I spent like the last 2 years working, or not entire 2 years, but I mean, some time at Avid Pro Tools and digital audio workstations. And also when somebody asked me, I was at a doctor and she asked me, and what do you do? What's your, and I work in the music industry. What do you do? And I try to explain what digital audio workstation is. And I say, you know what? These consoles, when you go for a concert, there are people sitting behind this desk, so we make this equipment, so I just fail to explain what a music production system is, say, yeah, just these faders and nice screens. And yeah, but anyway, Maciek, so that's, as you know, it's actually I come from this more like a music production. So I'm also very curious about your knowledge but I also have a sort of struggle to even get those questions right. So forgive me if I can correct me if you see that I miss some points. But I'm actually very curious. So what are those key trends? And I feel read a lot of what you say and what you write in the blog, MusicTech Lab blog, and you mentioned a attribution, or actually how you call it, preference, exactly. So why is that important, and why actually preference, not just attribution?
So the problem is that detection is a moving target. So AI models are and will keep getting better, and eventually it will be almost impossible to tell if something was created by a human or a machine. Right now it's even very difficult. And preference is a different approach. So it's about creating a trusted history of content, where it came from, who created it, what tools were used, and how it's, for example, changed over time. In music, where the ownership and royalties are critical for the whole industry to exist, this distinction is very important, in my opinion. And this is also why we are involved in initiatives like DDX and C2PA. Google those if you're more technical, because we believe that the future of music, but also in general digital content on many different ways, it needs a better standards and infrastructure for sharing information about the music ownership, and this is the preference.
Okay, can you elaborate about those initiatives a little bit? I never heard of those, so you can
So DDX standardizes the data workflows between different actors in the music industry. So, for example, between PROs or distributors to labels, between PROs and or CMOs and labels. So different actors have a different files and send different information, and so that everyone works on the same structure of files. This standard appeared and evolved and is integrated everywhere. And the second one, which is C2PA, I don't remember exactly what it stands for, but basically it's an initiative to create this standard of perseverance. So basically how to add watermarks, let's say, to every single piece of content that is being created, and then being able to reverse engineer actually or verify if this content is actually being created by maybe AI, it has been maybe stolen from someone or taken without permission, or is it who's the right owner of it.
Gotcha. I mean, the first one, now that you explained, I remember already, and the other one I didn't know. So what would it make?
C2PA is introduced by Google, Samsung, so big tech companies, and others are joining.
Yeah, but the first thing when you make this distinction between attribution and provenance, it automatically reminds me of blockchain, and it just looks like a perfect how to say application. However, I'm not sure if this is still like a part of those discussions. What kind? I mean, I know AI is right now the number one technology, right? That is behind all the projects. But I mean, is there still any a successful application of?
There are successfully executed projects with blockchain technology, but the hype is definitely gone. And basically, in these organizations, this is not a main discussion at the moment. AI is much more vivid.
I'm sorry to dig this one a bit further, but looking back at I remember how big of a hype it was. Do you consider there are some really real nice outcomes of the a blockchain? So is this just a new normal, something that is out there in the infrastructure? I'm just trying to why am I asking this question? I just wonder if with AI it's not going to be the same. We have a hype and everybody's just looks for a solution. Then the hype is gone. Maybe some small a bubble burst, and how much of this a past trends influence the existing ecosystem?
So I believe it's different this time, and I'm even saying it as ex-blockchain founder myself. I used to build a blockchain project myself, so I'm super enthusiastic about the technology, and I used to be even more. Now I don't run this project anymore, but I don't believe we can compare those two technologies right now. I think many solutions that were suggested by the blockchain community can be done without it. Some can work more effectively, but it's not like the world can't exist at the moment without this technology. With AI, and not necessarily generative AI, but all the technology that is built around it, it feels like at some point it's more like an internet thing. So I wouldn't compare AI to blockchain, but rather to internet. So at some point we don't speak about internet and how internet helps music businesses grow, because it's so obvious that everyone is using internet and it's like a standard human life. And the same will be for AI. So we basically stop talking about it because the technology is so adopted so well.
Gotcha. So what are the challenges in this space right now? So is this an adoption, or who must adopt those? I mean, I understand that you mentioned those standards, this organization, those projects. Their goal is actually to implement standards across the entire industry, and there are so many different actors in this industry. So what's the
we're talking about provenance, right? Of the content creation. So yeah, like I said, there are many actors, but I think it should start with players who have the most influence and resources to drive the change. So it's not, in my opinion, fair to put the entire responsibility on creators, definitely not on creators or smaller companies, because basically they don't often have the tools or the budget to solve industry-wide problem. So creation tools and biggest platforms are probably, they have the strongest position to introduce preference, and they do, they become to introduce it. For example, Google does it, and you can find C2PA watermarks on tracks that are being created by Google Lyria, which is like a, let's say, music creation software from Google. So they are the closest to the content. The pressure should be on those who are the closest to the where the content is created. And then distributors, labels, rights organization should adapt and build on top of that information.
Cool, but that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, so those who have actually like the resources and also like this closest to the musicians. But help me understand, is this just a matter of like a labeling that something is created by AI so we can maybe filter this out? Or because I sense there is actually like a way, it's more, right? It's obviously like a royalty sharing. What are the other sort of like, like applications of this kind of technologies and projects? So what are the goals of those initiatives that are being
basically to create a world where actually when you create something, you're fairly remunerated for it. So you basically you can prove that it has been done by you. And the other thing is also to create a world that is safer. Because these initiatives are not only related to music. DDX is related to music, but C2PA isn't only music. It's also about written content. It's also about visual content, like videos or graphics. So basically, it helps many different industry to push information that are actually checked or verified, and you can get the author of this information, because right now if you open any social network, it becomes much more difficult to spot which information is fake, and you shouldn't trust it. It basically it's become very difficult for everyone to understand what you're dealing with.
True, that's true. So that's a fair point. But I mean, with the fair compensation, I mean, my only sarcastic remark would be that it's already so. Forgive me the expression, fucked up, right? And then, I mean, the models are broken by definition, and right now with AI slop on a lot of those platforms is getting even worse. But I mean, there's never been actually a fair compensation in Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and I mean for Apple Music and stuff. So I just wonder, who is it actually helping? Is it helping creators or even helping the companies actually to preserve their revenue streams? Yeah.
True, and I get your point. I'm sometimes thinking, is it like a purposely broken system or not purposely? I hope that unpurposely, and someone will finally be able to fix it. We're working with founders who try to fix it. If it's purposely inefficient and broken, then it's more difficult task.
Yeah, then we have humans. But yeah, so then it comes to actually royalties, and the other question I had was, so what can software actually solve, and are there any are you involved in some initiatives, maybe other initiatives that can help artists to get better payouts?
So we help different kind of projects. So in the last years we did all, but maybe not all, but a few things in this industry. So involving merge, involving getting an attribution for AI generated audio or music. We've built marketing platforms, super fan apps, streaming platform, many integrations with, but I think the most important trend in the music for us, and the thing that we are mostly focused, is music data and infrastructure. And I can even see this like startups popping up everywhere in this area. So a lot of the industry's biggest challenges still come down to fragmented data, pure metadata quality, disconnected systems. So better infrastructure around catalog data, rights information, and connecting, so interoperability, so connecting between those systems will, in my opinion, and we want to focus on it, it will unlock a lot of value across the ecosystem.
But is this only, I mean, I'm sure it is not, but I mean, it's still worth asking. Is it only related to the music that is owned or distributed through like majors, or is this also like a indie or, indie markets?
No, absolutely. Indies as well. And with the new tools popping up, I think being independent is much easier than it used to be, especially if you're successful. But basically, there are a lot of projects that are working on different aspects of the being an artist or running a label, independent label, that help being much more effective and do things even on the same level that majors would.
Oh, come on. You actually just gave me an idea. I mean, I never actually thought about it. As you know, I also spend a lot of time doing the agentic AI for audio teams, mostly in the realm of product management, product marketing, and, a software, hardware management, which is actually where I used to work for the last 15 or so years. But you actually now, and there's a lot of discussion about AI allowing people to run, a one-man business and, through agentic, which actually I do, right? I mean, it's all an entire academy is a native, it's an AI first company, which probably some people may hate me for, but I mean, that's true. And I just realized that it can be also the same thing can be translated, like you say, to indices. So right now, instead of just being angry at, some, a business practices of the bigger player, you can, you can become really a super powerful AI user and run in label or run music marketing for as an artist, right? Marketing using a lot of AI and automation, and you don't have to be, the cool part of it is that you don't have to become a PhD engineer in engineering in order to do that.
Exactly. You just need to have a little bit, you need to be open for using those tools. And a lot can be built by yourself, and save you a lot of money. This is one thing, but save you a lot of time, definitely. So to run, like for example, even the revenue stream report. It used to be tens of spreadsheets, very difficult to digest. It's now possible, relatively easy to build solutions that combine these. You still need some industry experience, at least, or some knowledge to understand what's underneath, what's in these files, but a lot can be done very quickly.
That's an interesting part, but I mean, yeah, I got so excited, because I speak a lot with Tomek, that the colleague that about like having like a portfolio of like a little companies that you can right now run with AI. And why not actually, and I'm also like a big fan of the, how to say, support to the independent labels and musicians who actually go untraditional route, not giving their rights to, to big labels, etc. And I mean, this is, if they master AI, they could, this can be like a new revolution, it's just like a bye-bye. We can actually take a completely...
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's
I think it's similar in many these industries at the moment. What I'm not like super... what I think is actually overhyped is generative AI music at this moment. So the technology is impressive, but creating more music is not necessarily solving any big issues of the industry. The much harder questions are around ownership, attribution, monetization, and automating stuff. And these are the biggest opportunities, in my opinion, for AI also.
Gotcha. That's a good point. What I wanted to ask is, I'm not sure if you have an answer to this question, but if we want to label music as AI generated or somehow AI was used by to create certain piece of music or audio content, does it mean that this is 100% generated or the AI was involved? And I mean, let me just add on the top of this question. I know that certain platforms say anything AI, when AI was like involved, is already like rejected. But how can this be done? Especially not even before the big AI hype, there are already tools in the music production, right? I mean, people use stem separation or, like audio. I use audio cleaning software like RX from Isotope, like a basic post-production. So where is the, is this, it's just a huge spectrum, right? Between fully human mix, human recorded to, like AI, fully AI. And is it a big challenge also to be able to, label properly, like Bandcamp mentioned, no AI. I say that's a perfect, nice, ethically nice move. But I mean, how are you going to, specify how much AI is in the AI, right?
Technically, right now, it's not a problem to label stuff if we think that might be built or produced with AI. So it's just a matter of more like a business decision rather than technical challenge. So there is this debate. Where's the border? Where should we stop and think, okay, this amount of AI is fine, but if you add a little bit more AI, then it's AI
That's
music.
That's my point. So it's more like a business decision. It's technically possible. It's question actually where the line is drawn.
So basically, what I'm thinking more is if we need to think rather than if the AI that is being used, does it steps over someone else's intellectual property, for example, or not? If not, if there are like proprietary models for for example, to, I don't know, help you even with your vocal, like adjust your vocal, or to create a stem, etc. Like any part of music creation, I'm fine with using AI, but we need to be able to prove that actually it doesn't steal from others, in my opinion.
So, but that's one point you see. I mean, there are some cool tools. What's the IOD? I think Israeli
recently
startup was actually acquired by
recently acquired.
By the way, the one of the co-founders will be on the show soon too.
Cool.
Hopefully, and it's just very ethical, right? They just every time music is generated, they give money to the person who trained the model, which is actually a musician, right? You can have like a bass line, trained by on the music or of a player X or Y. But it's still
Brazil.
like but the case is it's still AI music, right? So I would actually love to understand when I'm like listening to the music, at least I know it is not played, it is generated.
Maybe it's basically about the approach. If we allow ourselves to be open to new kind of definition of music, because if we decide that the definition of creating music should be stopped at 2026 or 2020, maybe 2020, let's say, before launch of those biggest models. Then maybe we should name some songs. Hey, this is AI generated. In my opinion, this definition will change as it used to change before, and we should focus on different place.
Aspects. That's an interesting point too. I mean, I very often think of creating, for example, a synthesizer that will have, and I remember people already use this term, neural synthesis. So you have obviously like a different type of synth, like a synth engines or synth, why not having neural engine, right? And simply still play or like generate patches on sound packs, but you can, and I mean, why somebody should say it is not music if I'm actually.
And you're the one who actually, it's your also creativity who started this idea. So it's difficult. It's becoming like a philosophical question. And actually, I know a few people who used to study philosophy and would never realize that in the era of AI, their skills would be needed in so many industries, also in music industry. But it's difficult, and we will have still. It's the debate. It hasn't stopped yet, I believe.
Oh yes, it's only beginning. True. So listen, if we just can, I know we have also other topics because startups and the startup ecosystem, but just to wrap up the trends, you already mentioned music marketing and also being involved in some projects. So, how to say it, frame this question. So what are issues and risks, people who build super fun or generally like a music marketing tools miss, right? And what can be done and what cannot be done with the software. And I also explain you why I actually created this question. I mean, I read somewhere I think on LinkedIn, somebody's mentioned that a lot of those projects, they do not actually aim at solving the real problem of creators, which is actually how can you still forces write music and master your instruments and still a lot of artists, and not only musicians, but also in other domains sort of complain that it's so hard, right? To actually, you have to become an entrepreneur, and actually being good at making music is just a problem of its own. Yeah. So that's why I wonder, what are the challenges that those startups are trying to solve, and actually what can be solved, what people miss, and what maybe some challenges, still open challenges are in this realm that you can see?
So we used to work with a few projects like that. We work at the moment with one, and the term of super fan software is very broad again. So under the same definition of a super fan app, there are many different ideas how to solve this, but the main challenge that these startups are working on is basically how to create like an additional stream of revenue for their artists who very often feel insecure or believe that the system, their current status is unfair because they're not basically making much money from streaming or from YouTube, basically from the DSPs.
Basically none.
Or like sometimes basically none. Exactly. So those pitches, so the presentations of those startups are very often very similar. So if you, for example, distribute your music through our app directly to your biggest fans, with 1,000 fans, you get much more money than if you would have like million streams on some DSP platform. And it's very often true if this happened. But the problem that I see, and it's very universal probably in many industries, but in this one especially, is that these startups are very often being built by people who do not have like a direct relationships or are not close to the music industry, not close to the bands, what they actually want, artists, how they feel comfortable, what they feel comfortable with. So they create products that are like a little bit disconnected with actual fan needs and artists' needs. When they build, and they have many difficulties actually getting the artists to the platforms. And there is a lot of competition in this market because the challenge is actually gigantic. The market is potentially big and very fragmented market. But at the same time, when you're disconnected from what's actually needed by the artists and the fans, it's difficult to build something that actually sticks and creates additional value.
It's a interesting point. It's actually like honestly, it's like being a label a little bit, so you need to be able to find actually those artists that you can see, they have a potential to, to be, it's just like artist managers, right? I mean, back in the day, they were actually hunting for some interesting bands, and if the label, saw a potential, they say, if we invest into them, they will, and you never know because it's art, right? There is no like a single rule. You do this and you will be, it's just some artists never get recognition and they're just like, so amazing, right? There are so many talented people. I mean, you open sometimes like my wife says, you open this Instagram and you can see so many talented people, right? It's just like amazing, right? How many people can, play and write and draw and paint, whatever, it's just so hard. Mm-hmm.
True. But the business model actually very often makes sense. It's just you're also sometimes founders forget that their customers are artists who are not super technical, or they're not super open for startup innovation because their the first thing they think is that big techs are stealing from them, so they're not super open for another startup promising them a lot of money, and they use tools that are free, like Instagram you mentioned, and some others. So like it's a difficult dynamic there.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, in the music production world, very often, there's this like a offensive term, tech bros, so all these people from, they have completely different values. Their value is actually create like the largest, most rapidly growing company, very often like a steal intellectual property, etc. So yeah, I am not like so surprised actually that they have certain doubts. Yeah.
That's true, and that's true.
Yeah. Maciek, if we can just jump to the, like a startup. We're already talking about startups, but I mean, I know that you're not only involved in MusicTech Lab, but also in the accelerator, right? And also MusicTech Poland also allows you to like interact with that many startups. So I just want to, like pick your brain on, like a do's and don'ts, and also like a things you can see that differentiate startups, like successful startups from, those who are not that successfully. Yeah, and that the first question here would be actually, so what in your opinion separates those startups that gain traction and get funding from those that do not succeed?
So, in my opinion, the startups that gain tractions are usually they usually start with a real business problem before they even start building anything, any technology. So the software is often just an execution layer of an important problem, but there needs to be already a problem to solve, and someone who is willing to pay for it. If that foundation is there, traction and funding eventually will be much easier to achieve, in my opinion, from what I saw, and from even our clients. The biggest mistake is building something interesting even first, and only only later look for the problem. So
what problem can we solve with what we already built?
Yeah,
I know.
But it's very often the case. So that there is this super cool technology, like even the one that everyone talks about. So there is an AI or a blockchain. So people start building within those super sexy buzzwords. But then forget that actually there should be someone who is paying for the business. That's the only reason why business exists.
Amen. Exactly. And that's right now with AI, it's so easy to build stuff. I even recently wrote an article about, where are the good ideas coming from, basically like a fundamentals of market research and product discovery, because right now everybody can just
much more important than even they used to be.
But somebody told me recently, one of the previous guests on the podcast, that there is, I'm not sure if you see this, but she told me that she saw like some, I don't know, confusion or some kind of lack of inspiration to what to build next. Mm-hmm. So she says, even like a larger pro audio companies, there are people inside, they say, hey, so we don't really know what we should focus on next, right? So there is so much, technology that you can build anything, but I'm not sure if you see this or...
Yeah, I do. And like, we are tech partner for companies, so it's even difficult for us, but at some level, technology has become like a commodity, or at least the software has become a commodity. And it's so easy to get excited about one project and build it and even execute it. But if you don't have this base of market need and someone who's willing to pay for it, or at least it solves someone problem and gives you savings, or you become more effective in some aspect, it basically is just like a hobby. and it's even more difficult to choose what to build at the moment, because everyone's building, and you may feel that some FOMO, and that okay, they're building here and they're so excited about it, but do they really have something?
But let me actually give you how do you call it, like a devil's advocate, like the counter argument. When I was in Helsinki and for the meetup, and
sorry, my mic AI work.
Yeah, it was just like a fun farce. Okay, so I mean, what I'm trying to say is that when I was in Helsinki and interviewing the CEO of Oxsound, the company, that make plugins. By the way, I have the T-shirt from them. It's not sponsored. I just got the T-shirt because they were just lying there, and here we go. And he explained, and actually, it's in the, I think I don't remember, like 2 or 3 episodes back, that they're like a product development or like a product, how do you say, discovery process is that there are some very smart DSP engineers who, try to visual. Of course, they are very deeply immersed in the market, but they are also trying to see what is actually possible in terms of signal processing. So they can come up with some kind of crazy ideas. And obviously, they still have a product owner or like a product lead, somebody who makes some kind of the challenges those ideas, and also he's close to the marketplace, so he can say, oh, this is actually not solving the problem. But I'm just trying to say, I mean, it was very interesting because typically you have a problem solution and and some execution, but with the saturated market, there are a solution almost for every single problem. It's harder and harder to to find a new problems to solve. But technology also can play this kind of, I don't say, it can be disruptive enough actually to make new things possible. And if obviously applied, how to say, if you're just aware that you still need to find a problem to solve, but I don't know how to even. What I'm trying to say? That's the first idea, the first thing that came to my mind after listening is that it's just the process is upside down because you have engineers first and a validation later. But I think in this a creative industries, it's not always about solving the problem per se, a savings or making something faster, but also solving creative problems. So making a new sound, right? There was also another example. There was a guy who makes this great plugins, Safari pedals, also from Israel. And he says, I mean, I used to be a mastering engineer, and for many years, there's a sound that I missed, so I thought, it was just my personal preference. I didn't have a compressor that can, I don't know, compress this specific a range and make this specific sound characteristic. So I just created it because I just wanted it. And it actually turned out that, there was more people who appreciated this kind of creative thought, So to me, it was actually, an interesting observation because I just realized that in the creative industries, sometimes, making new things possible or a new sound, new creative idea, it also can be a solution of its own, right? You are not only solving business problems, but also problems of creators, which are a bit harder to, to even define.
That's true. And I absolutely agree. It basically depends where do you stand. My perspective is a perspective of a client who's not technical first, who comes to us and wants to build something together with us, and this is where who I talk with. But absolutely, you're right. If your perspective is that you're technical, you're up to date with the most current technologies and what are the verge of the technology. It's sometimes it's better to dig there, and not necessarily looked for an business case first. So I even know examples of people who a few years ago built models where, for example, two artists, they were building a model of human voice that connected both two artists. So as an end result, you had like a voice of a third person who had the mashup, but different kind of mashup. It was used for some artistic project. It's not typically a products we would work on. But to your point, this is something that basically came out of creativity and was needed for a specific project rather than to build a business on top of it.
Gotcha. Yep. So, if you see, some successful, pitching. So what's actually, or I mean, things that funders do right and wrong in terms of, looking for fund, when they are fundraising. So what they, do they get the market size and, they have a nice go-to market? What's the missing if in the, as also as a successful funder, so you can see, actually, you can probably evaluate, right? A bit.
Relatively successful. Our startup went to a seed round, and then after sometimes we exited, we got acquired. But yeah, I have an experience of fundraising, which is actually very difficult. But what I think music tech startups fail for many of the same reasons as other startups. So they struggle to prove real demand, a scalable business model, or a clear go-to-market strategy. But there is also a specific challenge in the music. So many companies position themselves primarily as music tech, which should be like a super thing for me because I'm working in music tech myself and I run MusicTech Poland. But actually, that alone is not a strong investment thesis if you decide to go for VC money. So from what I see, like we build this database of music tech investments or investments in music or audio related products. The most interesting opportunities are often at the intersection of music and other industries. So, for example, gaming, of course, AI, creator tools, social media, life experiences, data infrastructure. It's not necessarily music. If your only argument is that you are building something for the music industry, which is like 60 billion or whatever, how much is it at the moment? You're competing for attention in a relatively small market. So the strongest companies usually solve a bigger problem where music is a first step or a key component, but not necessarily like the entire story.
Interesting. Are there any interesting investments or some fundraising that caught your attention lately?
There are we collect those information and I try to be up to date, but what I find interesting about some of the recent investments is that many of them are not just trying to take a bigger share of an existing music economy, but they're trying to expand it, which is I believe like good move. For example, companies like Sneaky, I think you say it like that. They're building infrastructure around live experiences and helping create more value around the real world entertainment and the economy. There is reactional music, which is interesting because it looks at gaming as a new monetization layer for music. not just another distribution channel. And actually, there's also even like a company with a Polish component. It's actually founded by Belarusian team, and most of their team, I believe, is from Belarus, but they're here in Poland, which is called Grai, Grai.
Okay, I know the brand. I know.
And they are exploring the new ways for people to interact with music socially, creating new behaviors around the music consumption. So each one of them is basically, in my opinion, trying to build something bigger than just work for the money within the music industry. The common theme is that investors are looking for companies that can bring more money, new audiences, new use cases, and not just existing processes, slightly more efficient.
And do we have a lot of those like music tech investment companies in Europe? Like I know that you also like a big create a database of those investors, right?
Most of them are being founded in United States, most of the companies, but there are some few very strong ecosystems. Definitely UK, definitely Sweden has a lot of successful stories building within the music tech. There are those two, definitely. Also Spain.
Spain, interesting.
Yeah, and actually, we are also in a very interesting position in Poland because of the 11 Labs case. Not everyone knows it, but their founders are Polish. One of their headquarters, pretty big one of the biggest, is in Warsaw, Poland, and the engineering team. And they also build for creative industry, music product, and audio product. And people that are coming from this company are actually very often building something themselves related to music or audio. And investors are also who missed the initial investment in 11 Labs are looking into these projects very carefully, not to miss twice.
That's a good point. I always tell everyone, hey, this, do you want to see like a Polish, like a audio company? Look at 11 Labs. To me, it's just, I know, of course, they just like incorporated in US, like a lot of people who want to actually scale.
Yeah.
Which obviously is a bit like how do you call this? Like a thorn that, why is there any chance we can create the ecosystem here that we don't need to like export great talent and startups to to other countries? But
it's already happening, in my opinion. It's already happening as a tech ecosystem rather than music tech, because music is too small, definitely. But as a tech ecosystem, we are in a very good position to be one of the markets. Also, many years of people working in a big corporation in IT as an outsource partners, it helped this industry to grow, and many of these people are starting companies right now. So we're in very
like a little China, we're like a China.
Yeah, a little bit, but like we're very good at programming and building products. Not maybe necessarily selling them, but building tech products. We're very strong.
Yeah, I think, the problem is not only like a bureaucracy, but I mean the access to capital, so still most of the capital is in US. And I think that a lot of investors, they actually have a rule, right? If you want to actually get around, you need to be accessible. So, this means you need to move to the valley. So we can actually work closely together there. And I think that this is something cannot be solved like easily. I would probably also say
no doubt, yes.
Legal aspects as well. I think we're comparing to, Western European countries. I can see we have a very, very nice, how to say, courts and generally like a legal system is broken, to a certain extent, but at least you can found the company very quickly over internet. And I mean, all the administration is digital. So if you compare it to Germany or somewhere, I mean, sometimes when I hear people what they say, how doing business in Germany work nowadays, it's just, I say, who would actually build a company in Germany, right? I mean, going to the notary with every single a piece of paper and some crazy regulation. Yeah, so we have to actually, I think we tend to complain. I mean, we always used to complain in Poland, and we should actually appreciate a little bit what's going on, right? How much things change, right?
Absolutely. I agree. I was surprised how much I can even do with my phone at the moment. I recently signed a document by putting my ID next to my phone. I didn't know you can actually do it.
You too? I didn't know either. Yeah, exactly.
So I was surprised. Wow, I'm living in the future when I need to put my ID next to my phone and it actually signs a document. So we're much further than we think we are.
Exactly, and the fintech and etc. Yeah, right. Listen, I mean, I know you have to closely go to an end, and we have so many, questions yet. I mean, it just may need another episode to have them all answered. But if we can just touch briefly the MusicTech Poland, right? I mean, and it's just such a noble initiative, and I just want also people to to hear. So can you tell a little bit about it? Maybe
absolutely.
You can also attach the link in the description, so whoever wants to actually listens from Poland, I know there are quite a few. He can, or she can also read more. But
yes, absolutely. So thank you for kind words. So MusicTech Poland, just to remind, we call it a community. Basically, we're building a community for people who are from the music industry, not necessarily music tech startup founders, but they're into innovation within music. They want to learn how this industry works, technologically, what are the newest trends, and these are people who are working in the music industry, sometimes students, sometimes founders, sometimes scientists who are working on some specific challenge or problem. And basically, we, for the last 1.5 years, we organized 10 on-site meetups. One was not in Warsaw. It was during a music conference. We had our own track, and we basically tried to show good examples of what is being built in Poland within this industry. That these are actually super interesting projects. Some of them already got funding, so it should we want to inspire people to be more brave, maybe, or just to try to build something themselves. And one of the reasons was also even to make the term music tech present somewhere. So because we believe it's even though I said the most interesting products are on the intersection of industries, the music technology itself is a very vivid ecosystem in many different areas, but it's very siloed, and people don't know each other. So we want to connect people, put them into the same room, and maybe exchange ideas, inspire themselves, and so that everyone in Poland could get value.
I mean, I really appreciate it, also for the reason that I also try to build like bridges between those different silos, so when finally came to the meetup last time in Warsaw, I was and I know I was looking at the previous meetups that you also like invite people from different segments of this industry. So not only the one that is closest to you, but also those other, audio in, let's say, health tech, sort of speak, right? I'm not med tech, but I would call it like health tech and musical instruments. And I remember recently those audiobooks, sort of a wider entertainment, right? I mean, it's so cool to get all these people together. And I actually learn, you see, the funny thing is that as you know, I just travel a lot, but I rarely do something in Poland. And even in this, like a musical instruments, mixing, mastering, very often the biggest brands are, like obviously Germany, Sweden, obviously US, and but it's funny that there are so many great Polish companies that even creators don't even know they are local. Polish? I mean, an example being Polyend. If you go to Berlin to Superbooth, the electronic music instruments trade show, actually Polyend had the biggest booth, and they were actually promoting their new product, drums, I think it is, like a big analog drum machine, which is really, really cool. And also, I remember watching like a video once, I think a guy who works for Yamaha and Steinberg, he makes like a videos on Cubase, and he was saying, I mean, there are like plugins that survive the test of time. So I have so many different products, but I mean, there is one actually I used for like 20 years, and it's PSP AudioWare, a little Polish company, blah, blah. And I just like type it. No shit. It's just like a Poznań. So that's so cool that, I mean, it's really great. And
just to confirm what you said, I'm into this MusicTech Poland for 2 years already, like planning it, trying to map the ecosystem. And even just last week, I learned that there is this Polish company, they're called Record Scanner, which they help to catalog, value, and manage your record collection, vinyls and CDs. And basically, they have like tens of thousands of users, and I've never heard of them.
Me neither. Can you say it again? What's the name?
It's called Record Scanner.
Record Scanner. Okay.
And basically, they're working. I contacted the founder because my first instinct was, hey, who's running it? What's the name of the founder? And I need to speak with this person. How is it possible? I never heard about them. And he said, hey, we're just building for the global user base, or for the global market. We've never wanted to make any fuss on the local market because it doesn't make sense. And I respect that. Even though I wish I knew about them earlier, but I really respect that, and this is the approach I would advise founders to take. So if you're in these very niche segments, go global as quickly as possible and find users, and this will solve most of the problems.
Amen. That's a good one. Maciek, I have so many questions, and because we discussed them, but I mean, I also want to respect your time. So, I mean, hopefully, we will organize. I mean, I'll surely come to another a MusicTech Poland meetup. So we'll be in touch anyway, and so I hope we'll be able to record Vol 2. But I really appreciate and thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And if anyone would like to join our meetups, please follow our socials, and there will be proper announcements soon.
Links in the description, so and whoever listens from Poland, there you can find all those links here.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maciek. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you liked it. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and of course on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to it and hit the bell, because we publish a lot of interesting videos there, not just the episodes. You can also become a supporter and get premium content like additional reading, unpublished videos on our Buy Me a Coffee page, linked in the description of this episode. See you in the next one. Yo.